Great presentations this morning about the state of our state, the state of the state as a whole, what our challenges are, and as you saw with George's presentation, the opportunities that we have taken advantage of and continue to take advantage of here in the region, working through our collaborative, cooperative process. Now it's time to drill down and figure out what we need to do, working together to get into that mode of change and to help our elected officials in Lansing, the ones that are there now and the ones that are going to be there. We need them to find the courage through us to change, and that's going to be difficult. Helping us through this is a longtime friend of mine. Dr. Lew Bender is a retired professor of public administration at Southern Illinois University. He is actually a Grand Valley grad, class of '71. He's a Laker. And got his master's at Wayne State University, doctorate at the University of Georgia. Y'all be a Bulldog? Oh, my golly. So I have known this guy for a long time through the American Public Works Association, the Michigan branch of the American Public Works Association. Lew has for many, many years been conducting a week-long seminar for public works professionals, not just the top dogs, but the line people, looking at various concepts of management and how people get along and how we interact with each other, generational differences and the like. And I have participated, a wonderful opportunity to participate in several of those, both as a class member and also as a guest speaker. So I've known him for years. I can say one thing. Nobody sleeps when Lew Bender is in the room. And just a warning, if we just kind of starting to nod off, don't do that. Because you're going to wind up not only standing up with a microphone, you'll likely be standing up on a table to answer a question. So, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up and join me in welcoming Dr. Lew Bender.
Thanks, Don. Good morning, everyone. Oh, you can do better than that. Let's try it again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Are you all humming? All right, I want to go find some old farts in the room. I seem to have a concentration here. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Victor Matthews, Plainfield Township.
How long, sir?
How long what?
How long have you been with Plainfield Township?
Oh, gosh. Trustee.
Trustee for 2 years. In your life, your name is George? Victor. Where did I get George? George was earlier.
George is there.
Yeah, I got it. I want you to think about changes, and you can make this personal, because that's what we're going to talk about. You know, we always talk about change and challenge. Think about a change in your life. You don't have to be explicit about it. A challenging change, Victor. How did it impact you? How did you react to it? And we've all had that. Could have been a death. I'm picking on negative stuff for the moment, but actually positive change can do things too. Any change come to mind, sir?
Not major change off the top of my head.
Okay. Less than major.
Well, yeah, it's been really sad for the last about 3 years because the economy has really gone down. We're fighting terrible problems in terms of trying to balance the budget.
Absolutely.
Trying to provide the services that are necessary.
How are people reacting to that? As you look at yourself, colleagues on the board, as you look at staff, citizens, how are they reacting to this? Because, you know, the bottom fell out circa fall 2008. How did people start reacting?
Well, it's been two different ways of reacting. We're getting a lot of very, very negative response at the township. People are very negative as to the actions that we take.
They're upset? You're taking something away or not doing something?
Well, they feel that we need to continue to cut, and we are doing the best that we can. Revenues are down. It's very difficult to have the state balance their budget on our backs.
Okay.
So
We're seeing a lot of that.
we're seeing the state cutting our revenue, and we're seeing the money that we receive from our tax base decreasing as well.
Okay. Let me ask some more. Your name, sir?
Jeremy Bergwerf.
Where at?
I'm interning with the Grand Valley Metro Council.
Outstanding. In your, are you going to Grand Valley itself, or where?
No, I'm actually an MBA student at University of North Carolina.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Chapel Hill?
Yes.
Very good. In your life, biggest change, I want you to think of one. You don't have to say what it is unless you want to. Biggest change, it could be for you, your family, or others. And how did people react?
Well, it's just to clearly identify, moving down to North Carolina, we had a baby in the last couple of months, which is actually our third.
Yeah.
So,
Let me look at your eyes.
yeah, they're black.
Yeah, okay. I expect bags as a young man and black.
That's
okay?
right. Yeah, so it was difficult because lots of things that we had established, ways that we did things, just understandings between, I guess, myself and my wife and the way we interact with the community was very different. Moving to a new place, starting from scratch pretty much, and having new responsibilities on top of it.
Yeah, kind of overwhelming.
Certainly.
Yeah. How did it affect you? I mean, did you lose any sleep? Did you
Certainly
have
was
anxious moments?
Anxious moments definitely were part of it. Just the way you function just is unsettled, and just don't have a regular routine, and it's hard to address normal things and then address new things all at the same time.
A lot of times with change, kind of picking up on what Victor said, and Jeremy was hitting some good points, we go like this, don't we? A lot of times. Look, there are no absolutes, so let's not go absolute. But how many times in your life, pick a significant change? A divorce, a death, a change of jobs, a demotion, a loss of a job, a marriage, a baby. How do we react? Your name?
Janae.
Hi, Janae. Where at?
We're at what? Where do I work at?
There's a question. Are you always this way, Janae, or is this
Probably,
just kind of a
yes,
Thursday
yes,
morning
yeah,
thing
absolutely.
you got going?
Any given morning, yes.
Okay, I'm hearing you. Where do you work?
I work for the Coalition to End Homelessness.
Outstanding. How long?
3 years.
Yeah. What's your observation on this topic of change as it affects us, either individually or indeed collectively?
Well, we deal with that constantly every single day because we're looking at systems change.
Yeah.
So it's something that's very constant for us, and we're trying to look at how to do it well.
Yeah. I'm the guy who watches you from the cheap seats. I'm now retired from Southern Illinois University. I used to be with Central Michigan University before I took directorship of a unit called Regional Research and Development Services. I'm the guy that watches you. I'm big into trends. I thoroughly enjoyed what Doug and George presented this morning. But the base of my work is teams. And I only do public sector and some not-for-profit. I don't do private. And I see it all the time. I see people reacting to change. Those of you that are in public sector, for how long have you heard the mantra, do more with less? David?
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Way of life.
Yeah.
Dave Rideout, Plainfield Township.
Outstanding. How many years, sir? How long?
I don't know. Board of Appeals, Planning Commission, ZBA, about 20 years.
So you got no sense left at all, right? Yeah. I spent 5 years on the ZBA as chairman of the ZBA in Mount Pleasant, up the road. And I used to say it was my monthly opportunity to be abused. Because nobody ever walked into that room wanting to be there. You know what I'm saying? Am I accurate on that, David? Yeah. We react to change. And by the way, it's not just negative change, though when we think of change, oftentimes the survey data indicate when we hear the word change, a negative pops up. But change can be just as stressful. That's a positive change, a new promotion, new responsibilities, whatever. You understand? And how do we react? We react this way. And so what I'd like to do is spend a little time with you talking about our individual reactions to change. It's personal. We can talk all the rational reasoning that you want, and we can see the data as presented in such an excellent fashion by the two previous presenters. And yet at some level, at some point in our lives, change becomes visceral. It becomes in your gut, depending on the nature of the change and things that are happening. All right, personal question you don't have to ask. How many people in this room have gone through divorce? Okay. What kind of change did it bring about? Deb? Introduce yourself, sorry. By the way, I've been teaching for 34 years. Just so you all know, my experience is your troublemakers, your problem people, tend to gravitate towards this corner or that corner. I just want you to be aware of that. And I've known Deb for some years. Deb? Oh, okay. Appreciate it. Good. That's easier.
My name is Deb Ellenwood. I'm the treasurer at Algoma Township.
Right. Impact of that change. And without, I don't want you to reveal your life story, but
right.
The impact. Right. It has impact.
Oh, yeah. Family, home, economics.
Yeah. And what do we tend to do even when a relationship isn't working out too well? We tend to hold on. That's a blessing, I think. But at the same time, when people are done going through something like that, usually we talk about a year or two later, what do we say? Holy mackerel. I saw all those signs many years before it ever happened. We put it in a perspective. We have a tendency to react to change, and many times when we go through the change, amazingly, we feel good about it. And I'm not necessarily talking about divorce, but we come out on the other side oftentimes stronger, feeling better about who we are. We move from being plate glass, which shatters quickly, to, with life experiences hopefully, to becoming plexiglass. Well, that's what I want to talk with you about. Change and its impact, and why many of you, if not most of you in this room, are in leadership positions, and you're expected to instigate change. You're expected to deal with these things. If you're an elected official, they look at you and they say, why aren't we? Whatever. You understand? Or why did we? And yet at the same time, when you attempt to bring about change, it's just like what Victor said. Oh, man, you bring about that change, and you can bet that the next board meeting, the room's going to have people in there. When board meetings are frequently empty, or not many, you get the normal 2 or 3 you always attend. But, right? Yeah, and you have names for them, correct? We know them. Yeah, we know them. You have names for them, but when you make that change, whoa! And a lot of people react this way, and then some people will react in an aggressive way. Okay? Now, here's what I want to do. I want to play an oldie but a goodie. You may have even read the book. Okay? I have the movie. How many of you remember, this was popular some years ago, as I was thinking about this, what would I use? I went to an oldie but a goodie. How many of you remember this book? Who Moved My Cheese? How many of you read the book? Outstanding. How long did it take you, sir?
Not too long.
Not too long? Day or so? It's 90 pages. It took Don Stapula 4 weeks to read this book. You understand? And he wasn't just reading 5 minutes a day. Do you understand? How'd that work out for you, Don? Yeah. So I want to play this movie. Where's my friend Brandon? Oh, I'm going to hit play, aren't I, Brandon? Wherever I put that thing. Watch the movie. Who moved my remote? I got to put my glasses on so I know I'm hitting the right button. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is Brandon. He's the guy that makes it all work. So, every presenter loves a guy like Brandon. This is Who Moved My Cheese. It's by Spencer Johnson. It's an oldie but a goodie. The form I had it in was VHS, tell you how old it is. But I want you to watch it. I want you to think about what Doug and George talked about and what we're facing in local governments and in organizations in general. Not-for-profits are affected by this economy, all of it. My economist friends talk about fundamental change in the economy, okay? So I want you to watch it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. And then I want to peel the onion down a little bit more in terms of some of the studies that indicate why we don't readily change. I want to kind of just peel it down a little bit. I do a lot of research in an area called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And so a lot of this is coming from that NLP research. Here it goes. What button am I? Where are you?
I am recently retired, and it was a wonderful change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there. What was your reaction to...
Well, I've heard about this for years,
Yeah.
and I've never seen it before. And it does capture that change is always occurring, and how are you going to deal with that change?
Yeah. It ever known hymns and ever known haws in your life?
Yes, a few. And, you know, one of the things I was thinking about is that one of the reasons people don't like to change, because it's viewed as giving up something.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're giving up anything, and so I sure don't want to give up anything.
Yeah.
And so how you kind of get over that. And so I like the new cheese, you know, actually, instead of giving up, you could actually get into some new cheese.
Yeah, that's called a zero-sum game, and it's the story that okay, I always get them turned around, that Haw had in terms of who moved my cheese. He plays a zero-sum game, and you've encountered this, and sometimes you have played it. I have played it in my life too. Not to go too pointy-headed on you here, it comes out of something we call expectancy theory. And what expectancy theory is, did Brandon leave? Okay, we're going to try this by ourselves. What expectancy theory okay, now there's a switch. All right. If something blows up, how's that? Right sound. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. Pretty good, huh, Don?
Oh, that's great. Very informative.
Don was amazed that I was using PowerPoint.
I am.
You understand? This is a zero-sum game. It is a frequent, drawing a perfect circle here. Not too bad, huh? Mayor, what's your favorite pie?
Apple pie.
Do you like the Dutch apple?
I just like apple pie, and I put some ice cream on it.
Yeah. Alamodi?
Alamodi.
Yeah, outstanding. This, sir, is an apple pie. Let's pretend I've divided it equally in half. Okay? Here's your side, Mayor Buck. Here's my side. The game is called zero sum. It is a frequent game, especially when people are dealing with the feeling of a loss of something, kind of like what Carol was identifying. Okay? You want more pie. How are you going to get it, sir?
Well, I might try to start negotiating.
Yeah. I got a feeling I wouldn't have any pie left at all if that.
That would be my first approach.
You understand?
Try to negotiate.
You silver-tongued devil. I've known you for years, I know. Okay? The amount of pie that Mayor Buck takes from me is equal to the amount that his amount of gain, say it again, is equal to my loss. That's why it's called zero sum. The character in there, Haw, was playing a zero-sum game. Why do I say that? It was definitely a zero-sum game. And you'll see it now if we expand it to other behaviors. And we've all played it sometimes. I know I have, so I'm not trying to be judgmental here. But why would I say he's playing a zero-sum game, Joshua? Introduce yourself, sir.
Josh Marion from the city of Granville.
Okay, how long with Granville?
Since 2007.
Outstanding. Why would I say he's playing a zero-sum game when he's reacting to the cheese?
Because it feels like if he changes or does something different, then he's going to miss out on what he had to do.
Yeah? If he changes, he's going to lose.
This one actually already lost.
Yeah, he's already lost it, but
In denial.
he's in denial, exactly. Why else would I say, introduce yourself, sir?
You woke me up.
I know, I'm sorry, Elias. You know, we do that once in a while. Introduce yourself,
I'm
Elias.
Eli Lumpkins, City
Outstanding.
of Grand Rapids.
Outstanding. How long, sir?
About 3.5 years.
Okay, and your job?
I'm a retired educator.
Outstanding. With Grand Rapids?
Grand Rapids Public Schools, Calvin College.
Fantastic. Why would I say that Haw was playing a zero-sum game? And that we oftentimes see that as an educator. You've seen.
We couldn't see the benefit in changing.
Yeah.
It was a risk.
Exactly. What happens when you're playing a zero-sum game, number one, you feel loss. You only think about the loss side. What have I lost? He was so consumed in the little story, so consumed with the loss, he couldn't see beyond it. And here's what was very big and frequently characteristic when people are in that kind of situation and playing that zero-sum game. They personalize it. What do I mean by they personalize it? I see it in my teams that I work with all the time. What was Haw's biggest question? Sir? Haw, yeah. Introduce yourself, Frank.
I'm Frank Lynn,
Outstanding, Frank. Who you with?
Disability Advocates of Kent County.
Outstanding. He kept saying it over and over again. That was the short.
Don't watch it, don't have cable, not interested.
All right. Sorry about that, Frank.
Why did they do this to me?
Yeah. Who moved my cheese? Now think of the presumption in that. The changes that Doug and George identified this morning. I want to know who is to blame. Please identify him for me. Who's that culprit who stole all those jobs? Get it? It oftentimes isn't who. It may be what. It may be life. Life changes things. Things change in life. And to personalize it, how many times do I see this? All my work, folks, in these 34 years comes out of working with teams. And I've watched public sector teams go through tremendous changes. And the people who are the most stressed, the most ill-adaptive at any given point in time are, why did you do that, Brian? You did that. I got to find a goat. I got to find somebody to blame. Now, sometimes there may well be somebody to blame, I suppose. But think about it. The very question itself, who moved my cheese?
Because I'm entitled to that cheese.
Talk to me, Carol. What do you mean?
I think there is a real sense of entitlement underneath all that, too, is that I'm entitled to a job. I'm entitled to certain benefits. I deserve this. You know, I've worked hard and I'm a good person, so I'm entitled.
Exactly. Privilege, oftentimes, as we grow, privilege becomes expectation. What you gave to me willingly, you ever seen this with your kids? I'm not trying to beat up on young people, but you give something, and then you give it again, whatever it is. Could be money, could be lavish presents, could be a car or whatever, okay? And so you keep giving that to me. And then what does it look like to me after a while? How do I view it? I deserve it. It was Dwight David Eisenhower, President Eisenhower said that something to this effect. I'll mangle it, so forgive me. But he said, essentially, a nation that puts its privileges before its principles is soon to not succeed. And he used better words than that. We get used to it. It becomes what the Germans call part of our Lebenswelt. It becomes part of, what we view the world as. And that's where Haw was. Haw was in a position where It was his. It was rightfully his. Somebody took it away from him. That dastardly person, whoever that was, who moved my cheese? Who moved my cheese? And in the little parable, he never found the who moved my cheese. Okay? As opposed to, and again, don't read judgment in what I'm saying, because we all kind of deal with this in different stages sometimes. But zero sum is a blame game. It's personalized. Somebody's out to get me. How many times do I see it in teams between labor and management? How many times do I see where indeed there's got to be, the new CEO comes or the new team leader. It's her fault. While the change was occurring the whole time. And you notice something else to continue to exploit the little flick? Do you notice that no matter what him did, including going back and talking to Haw about the new world out there and the realities, and he kept trying to reality base it, Haw never got it, did he? People, there are people who never get it. I don't care what you do. I don't care how caring and loving you are, how much you reach out, how much information you share. And I'm not trying to suggest you not share knowledge. But there are some who never get it. If you let them define your course of action, if they become the central definer of your course of action, then you might as well just join Haw. And you won't find cheese. We become reactive oftentimes when we're dealing with these kinds of changes. When we deal with the kinds of changes where the number of jobs that we've lost, we become reactive. How do people react? How are people when they are reactive? How do people conduct themselves when they are in what I would call reactive mood? Your name?
Renee Liddell.
Hi, Renee. You made a big mistake, Renee.
Well,
do you know that?
I would like you to point that out, because then I'm going to point one out that you've made.
Yeah, I make a lot of them. Renee, the mistake, how many classes you been in? We've met before, I think.
Yeah, I was at CMU with
yes.
Jean Neves, city clerk.
Wow, okay. What's the mistake you made?
Me?
Yeah. It just happened. How many classes you been in?
Of yours?
Oh, yeah, just mine or anyone's.
Two of yours.
Okay, and many other professors or workshop presenters, right? What's the rule? What's the rule in terms of if the instructor is looking to call on somebody, what don't you do?
Make eye contact.
You do not look at me. You understand? Look down. It's the ostrich kind of thing. Frank made the same mistake earlier. I'm saying, look down. It's the ostrich thing. The other is don't move your hands or your body in such a way that calls attention. But
you're trying to teach me to be submissive, and it won't work.
It won't. Yeah, it never did either. Okay. What did I ask you? I forgot. Okay. How are people when they're reactive?
They're usually emotional.
They're emotional. Natural. What else do we do when we're reactive? Talk to me. What do you mean, Victor?
I mean, they're defensive. They don't want to move. They want to put up barriers and
figure out ways why the old way is better and the new way is bad.
Yeah. Now convince me. Let's reason together. Let's talk about new ideas. Let's talk about new visions. You understand? You hear me, Eli? You know? Yeah. He can't hear you. Fellow educator. I mean, right? We become defensive. And what do we need to be? And this is the tough part about it. If we're going to be him and we're going to figure out what's around us, we've got to move to what's called a non-constant sum game. What's a non-constant sum game? Instead of Mayor Buck and I arguing over how much pie he takes from me or I take from him, we spend our time talking about how do we make a bigger pie. It's oftentimes the biggest frustration I see for leaders. You put yourself in a position, elected or appointed, where you are increasing your individual vulnerability. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you put your name on a ballot or you put yourself out in front of the organization, you've just made yourself more vulnerable. I know that sounds strange because we always think about leadership and power. No, you're more vulnerable. You understand? And what oftentimes I see in the leaders that I work with is what kind of fuels their fire a little bit is they want to make a difference. They want to make a difference. They want to play, to use the metaphor, a non-constant sum game. And they run into me. I'm Haw. Why are we doing that? What are you trying to do to us now? What do you mean you're going to change the pension system? What do you mean you're going to change the way we work? What we do? What do you mean? What do you mean? And when that dialogue starts occurring in a serious way, and especially if I win pretending I'm Haw for the minute, you won't go out into the maze, and you most certainly will not smell the cheese. You're going to spend your time playing my zero-sum game. And the degree that I get you to play my zero-sum game is the degree that you can't find new cheese. You can't adapt to new ideas. Let me peel it a little bit further. We know some things about how people learn. All right, did Brandon leave? Now I got to be smart enough to go back to this, and that should be the computer. It's making sounds. Aha, this is so good.
You got this made.
I got this down, don't I? Let's stop right here. Now, what does how we learn have to do with any of this, by the way, before I go further? How does how we learn stuff have to do with anything about change? Somebody want to take a shot at that? It's fundamental. It's right in the center of the wheelhouse. Somebody want to take a shot? Keith? You looked right at me, Keith.
That'll teach you.
Mistake number one.
Yeah. Introduce
How
yourself.
we learn. Keith Van Beek with Ottawa County.
Okay, how long?
Just over a year.
Okay, fantastic.
I'll guess.
Take a good shot, yeah.
That our experiences for most people go the deepest in us as far as we can connect with, hey, this will happen again. So experientially, if we've learned to overcome our fear, maybe more even than once or twice, we're more likely to overcome our fear again.
Yeah, I have a friend that I saw after 40 years, and he said, you know, I grew up in a risk-averse family. My mom, my dad never took chances, and neither did I. And he said, you know, and there were benefits to that, but there were also downsides. It was kind of a sad discussion, at least at that point in time. You understand? What does learning have to do with change? True learning is visceral. We have made science is amazing. There's this amazing discovery. Here it is. What's in here can't get in here unless it comes through here, 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 here. The amazing eureka is that learning occurs as a body thing. It's physical. When I was a student at Grand Valley and I left after the first year, went in the Marine Corps, I had a sterling grade point average. They wanted me back. 1.67. Wow. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I had to beg to get back, to tell you the truth. And after Vietnam and all that, I came back and begged. But I tried some learning techniques that were revolutionary. I took my physics book and I put it right here as I slept. How did it play out for me, Carol?
Osmosis.
Yeah.
Worked out well,
Now,
doesn't it?
1.67 grade point average, okay? Learning, first of all, is visceral. Now, I'll come back to change. Don't, just stay with me a minute. It's physical. That becomes what then? We all do it. A habit. Okay. Habits in your life. Terry, introduce yourself, sir.
Terry Schweitzer, City of Kentwood.
How long, sir?
32 years.
32 years. Do you talk to yourself often, or is it, are you?
Actually, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Good conversation.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah. You're never alone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you the reason George kept referring to odd? No. Let it go.
All right.
Think about habits you've had in your life, sir. How hard to change?
You get in a habit, and it's hard to change. It takes time.
Yeah.
Have to talk to myself a lot to work it through.
Yeah.
That you don't do it the same way again.
Yeah. You have to engage this as well as this. You cannot just, in a cerebral fashion, say, gee whiz, I have to change. I have to quit smoking, or I've got to exercise more, or I've got to whatever. You can't just have it here and have it be effective. If this isn't engaged, if there's no feedback loop with this, the neuro is your body. Linguistic is we use words to order our experiences that our body have. Programming, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is the habits, like what Terry was talking about, that we create. Okay? That by and large make us successful people. And once in a while, they prevent us from going out into the maze and smelling the cheese, let alone acting on the cheese that we see dwindling in front of us. You know what I thought as Doug made his presentation? I'm a trends junkie. I can give you all kinds of trends, folks. That's what I do. I've always had a couple grad assistants till I retired who were constantly mining data. And I thought, as Doug was talking, I was in this dialogue in 1977. We have known what's happening to this state since the mid-70s, most notably since the 1973 oil embargo. That was the first big sign. Those of you that were around then remember the gas lines when OPEC shut off the tap and gas jumped from about 25 cents to over $1 an hour. You didn't dare drive on a long trip because you weren't sure you could get back. You'd have to get your gas on Tuesdays and Fridays or Thursdays and whatever, all that. We've known that long. And we're just starting to really deal with it, if we really are starting to deal with it. It's visceral. It's a habit. It's programming. It's how we learn. Well, let me walk you through that. And I got to read this thing. Forward. How am I doing here, Don?
You're doing good.
That's good. There are 4 stages of learning. Let's walk through them. First stage is called unconscious incompetence. I've been there a lot. Somebody tell me what unconscious incompetence is.
You don't know what you don't know.
Hello, introduce yourself.
Dan Hula, Hula Engineering. I've been an engineering consultant in West Michigan for 25 years.
So you got no sense left at all, right, Dan?
None.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. I want you to think about it. How old were you, Dan? When you were 4 or 5, did you think about driving much?
I always wanted to drive.
Did you? Okay, that's a bad example. David, 4 or 5, was driving top on your brain?
Nah.
No. At what age did you start thinking about, I'd like to drive?
My teen years.
Yeah. 13?
Yeah.
Yeah? Any farm boys or girls here? You started thinking about it earlier, didn't you? Tractor. 8, 9, 7? Yeah, my daddy would have said you're too short in the poop, okay? I learned to drive on a Divco milk truck, Highland Park Dairy, Muskegon, Michigan. That's where I grew up. Okay? And a Divco milk truck, you had the gas pedal. You did it standing up. You had the gas pedal here at 1 foot. You had the clutch and the brake all in one pedal. All the way down was the brake, and the clutch was kind of halfway up. And that's how he taught me, was on a Divco milk truck. How do you think that worked out, Joe? I'm sorry. Pardon? Yeah. Only a few cases of milk were broken. Okay? You become, at 13, whatever age, you become conscious of your incompetence. I don't know how to drive. Supervisor, introduce yourself, Don.
Don Hilton, James Charter Township Supervisor.
How long, sir?
18 years there, 33 on Planning Commission.
Outstanding. Who taught you to drive?
I have driven forever.
There were no cars when you started driving. Am I right, Don?
Absolutely.
We're talking, right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you remember who taught you?
I don't. I guess I just get on, at that point, on a tractor, and from there it was automatic, I guess.
Yeah. Who here learned how to drive on a stick shift vehicle? Okay. Who taught you? Introduce yourself, Tammy.
My name is Tammy Shemansky. I'm on the Cannon Township Planning Commission.
Outstanding.
My dear dad taught
Your
me
dad.
to drive a stick.
Do you remember what kind of vehicle it was?
It was a Mazda RX-7. It was my first car.
A Mazda RX-7?
Yeah.
Your dad
It
was a
fun.
risk taker. Do you know why? Because Mazda RX-7, the driver's in their own little compartment.
Right.
There's no way that the passenger, i.e. your dad,
Right.
could get over there and hit the brake.
Well, I bought the car before I knew how to drive it.
You
so
bought
that was
the car
even
before you
more
knew
risky.
Do you do that a lot, Tammy?
No,
okay.
I haven't done it since.
Like buy a sailboat before you know how to
Right,
sail?
no.
Okay. How did that go?
How did it go?
How'd that go, that thing about drive, as he taught you? What was that like? Because you're now moving into the third area of learning called conscious competence.
So how did it go for me as opposed to him? You experience a lot of different emotions.
Yeah.
The realization that you don't know how to do it, and how are you going to do it?
Yeah. Did the car stall?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Did the clutch plate make funny sounds?
Probably.
Yeah. Was there a grinding going on?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a bucking in the car?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And your father, did he go get drunk afterwards?
No, but we did it in a parking lot of a business, and the business owner came out and kind of questioned what we were doing out there. So.
Yeah. And stay away from my light poles, okay? Right. I taught my wife, bless her heart, who never had driven a stick shift vehicle. I taught her how to drive. We live in a rural area up in Lake County, Luther, along Pine River. And so, it's all gravel roads, dirt roads back there. Nobody back there. And we're driving along. I got her going, she's my brand new truck. She's driving it. And I said, okay, now when we get to the top of this hill where the stop sign is, I want you to stop, okay? And then I want you to, the car's like, the truck's like this. I want you to put it in gear and start up again. And just as she got there, what happened? Yeah, it did. That came later, Frank. Another vehicle pulled up right behind us. Now, what was she like at that moment, Tammy? I also felt fear, okay? I just said, put the emergency brake on, turn it off, okay? I'll wave the guy around, okay? At this level, conscious competence, you have to think about every single thing. Clutch in, brake on, put the car in first. Get off of the brake, let up on the clutch, step on the gas pedal, move forward. When's the last time you drove a stick shift vehicle, ma'am? Okay, now, if you went out in the parking lot, Tammy, and you got into Carol's big Dodge Ram truck, Hemi. It's got 5 on the floor. Could you drive it? It's been 20 years. Do you think you could figure out how to drive that vehicle?
I think it would come back to me after a while.
Yeah. The hardest part for you would be to find the friction point. You might jolt it a little bit. It is, you have moved in terms of that to what we call unconscious competence. Athletes call it muscle memory, okay? It becomes part of us. We say words to each other around this, like it's like riding a bike. It is what has made you successful. If you want other indications of it, try to explain your job to somebody who's brand new. And peel the job down to its basic elements like what you learned way back whenever you started that job. It becomes tremendously challenging. Unconscious competence. How many people have had this experience? You get on the highway, let's say you get on 96, you're heading towards Lansing, or let's say Southeast Michigan. And all of a sudden, there's the first Lansing exit. And you go, holy crap.
Did I miss Portland?
Did I miss Portland? Did they move Portland? Anybody had that experience? It's not an unsafe condition, believe it or not. You are so good at it. It is so much a part of your habit, your muscle memory, that you don't need to be thinking about every single thing, including first gear, second gear, whatever. If somebody pulls in front of you or does something stupid, you'll be out of your reverie right away and right there. You understand? It's why so often if you've ever had a breakdown on the highway and you call 911 or whatever, or the wrecker, and they say, where are you? And you go, I don't really know. I don't want to push that too far, Wes, if you know what I mean. Okay? Unconscious competence. We are filled with unconscious competence. It is a blessing. We don't have to think about very complex things. We say it's like riding a bike. All right, well, here's the challenge. Who here is good at teaching golf? You know, GOLF, the maddening game. Come on, there's somebody good at teaching golf. Ah, right here. Keith, would you stand up, sir? How you doing, Keith?
I'm teaching you to look.
That's right. He was looking down.
Not so well.
Let's see, the man's loaded with dew, so, you know. It's a good thing we're going to take a break in 20 minutes, you know. All right. I want to show you this is the golf club.
All right.
I don't play much golf. You'll see why in a moment, okay? I'm going to show you I'm self-taught, by the way.
That's a good first indicator.
Yeah. You're all over it, aren't you? Here's my grip. This is the driver. This is my grip.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. When I go to hit the ball, you understand? I got a slice that's so pronounced that if I want to put the ball over there, I actually, on the tee, point this way, which usually clears people, you know, from carts and stuff like that. You understand? Now show me the right grip. Here, I'll hold this for you, or you can do it on there.
Interlock, like this.
Pretty cool. Wow. What's your handicap? No, we won't go there. Okay. Yeah. All right. Does anybody know Keith here? Is he a really good golfer? He is? Yeah. So, huh? We've heard rumors. Okay. Now, here I go, Keith.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you.
This is my grip. You're showing me the right thing. Everybody agree with what he showed me? You golfers? All right. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to try that interlock thing or whatever the heck you did. There you go. Okay? I'm going to go to the first tee. By the way, my luck will be, when I go to the first tee, there will be 5,000 people waiting to get on that tee. You just know that. And I'm going to hit the ball. By golly, Keith told me This is how to do it, and I do it. How do you think my results will be?
First time, pretty poor.
What about second time?
Probably a little bit better, but probably the second time you're not going to do it again. You're going to go back to the way you did it before.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, give Keith a hand. He did good, exactly right. Here's what happens. Back to my sheet. Now let's see. I got to flip this button. That should come on. Okay. One is unconscious incompetence. I'll just initial it. 2 is conscious incompetence. 3 is conscious competence. And 4 is unconscious competence. Excuse me. When Keith shows me, as he did, the correct way, I'm smart enough to know about that. My skill, my performance, my outcomes typically will look like this, if I can get it on there. It will be, if this was where I was before and this is high performance and this is low, sorry about that, I will go like this. And my first reaction to this change that he just introduced to me will be, he's full of beans. He just showed me, I don't know what the heck Keith was doing, and I'll go to the other people in the team and I'll say, this is a bunch of garbage. We're actually doing less. We're not performing nearly as well as we did before Keith came. Why do we keep doing this? You see, when you indeed and I go from unconscious competence back to conscious incompetence, we lose outcomes. We lose in terms of our performance. Every time. I don't care whether you're an individual or whether you're part of a team. And so all of our reinforcers when it comes to change are negative. Our feedback is negative. And the first thing we'll do, to the degree that we have Haw characteristics, is we will blame somebody. And it matters not whether Keith is correct or not. Whether indeed to improve I have to change or not, the data that I'm receiving all tell me that indeed he's wrong. And then I'll play blame games. How many of you ever seen that in teams? And what's it do to people? Gary, introduce yourself. I've got a microphone around here somewhere. God, thanks.
Gary Gerber from Plainfield Township Planning Commission and Ferris State University.
Outstanding. How long at Ferris?
21 years.
Your job?
I teach architectural technology and facility management.
Fantastic. Just down the road.
Yeah.
Good school.
Yeah.
When you see this, what impact does it have on people? How do you see them reacting?
They go back to what they're doing and want to defend their position.
Yeah.
Status quo.
Yeah. And it becomes zero-sum game pretty quickly.
Game. Yes.
Yeah. Us versus them.
Correct.
What was Doug's last message? Was the last thing?
Go back to what you were doing before.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's a lot in education.
It does, Professor, and I agree. All the education battles that I was in, they occur at different times. Those of you not involved in higher ed, it happens in K through 12 too. But the worst battles are in academia. And the question I've always asked whenever that's occurring is, because academics fight, and I can't get into it, but the question I always ask, I'll see if you react to it, is what do the winners get? It's like academia, there's not money. What do they get? I understand big business fighting and somebody gets more money or stock or something. What do the academics get? Never mind. Okay? It degenerates when you get to this level into us versus them, into blame. And unless, and I'm going to talk about a technique for breaking through some of this, but I got no 100% here for you folks. There are some people who are going to be Haw. You may be one of them, depending on what you got in the game and where you're at in your life and that kind of stuff. I've been resistant to change. I'm not trying to lecture you here. And there have been times that I've been a part of change. But I do know one thing. It's usually the serious change stuff in my life personally or organizationally usually isn't easy. It's usually missing the ball. It's usually burning worms as the ball skids along and I walk then up to the ladies' tee and hit again. You understand? I'll think of you the next time I do this, Keith, okay? All right. Any questions on this? Him and Haw. Him was able to go out and test the cheese. It wasn't easy for him. One of my favorite sayings that he wrote on the wall, one of my favorite sayings was, "What would I do if I were not afraid?" I consider that to be a very powerful thought. What would I do if I were not afraid? Because so much of this, to move from unconscious competence to that conscious competence thing, is facing your own fear. And people can lecture you all day about it. They can lecture me all day about it. It's still, you got to face it. It's tough. And here's the other part of this relationship. As you move from here, add a word in here. You got to have, let me put it here where it can be seen, I guess. You got to have desire. Otherwise, you'll do exactly what Keith said I would do. And I think he's right. I'll quit. I'll go back to what works. I will be Haw. And by the way, you never forget how you did it before. And sometimes under stress, you'll actually go back to the old way. Okay? And you'll have to kind of recalibrate. Now, you can override it, but overriding it means what my coach here is going to tell me is, Lew, practice. Practice, practice, practice. Because that's what you have to do. You have to viscerally override, you understand, your previous unconscious competence to the new conscious competence, moving through that. So that at some point in time, it becomes unconscious competence. I'll pick on Tammy for a quick minute. Tammy, just so you know, there's the automobile engineers have come up with this wonderful new discovery. It's ergonomic, okay? You'll like it. What they have done is they have moved the gas pedal where the clutch was. They've moved the clutch to where the brake is, and the brake is now where the gas pedal was. You get it? Okay. And Carol's big Dodge Ram Hemi truck has all that stuff. How are you going to do driving her big Dodge Ram truck now?
Sorry, Carol.
Yeah. Call the wrecker, right? You're going to mess it up?
I think so.
I think you would. I think all of us would, wouldn't we? Because even though you know all those functions, you know them so well that you'll go back to where the clutch was and the brake used to be, and they ain't there anymore. You understand? That's unconscious competence. Now, how do you change this in organizations? You got the rest of the day? Obviously, we don't have time to. But let me hit a couple things, at least one that I see as very important in my experience. Have you ever, by the way, hopefully that goes back up, but we'll see. I do a funny thing with some of my classes, some of the workshops that I present. I take a group like y'all, and I randomly divide you into groups of 8 or so. So David has a group over here, and Victor's got a group, and Carol's got a group. You understand? And I do this stupid exercise. It is stupid. Some of you have done it before. It's called Lost on the Moon, or Lost in the Desert, or wherever you want to get lost, okay? In this exercise, there's David and there's Tammy and Carol and Victor, and they're the captains of these spaceships. And the spaceships have crash landed 200 miles from the mothership. And so you're there with your team, your crew, and you've got 15 items that I give you. You know, it's on a sheet. There's oxygen. I recommend, David, that you kind of select that as first, but just kind of, oxygen, water, food, different things, a pistol, different things. And I charge each of your teams with the following. I say, you got 2 things you got to achieve. I'll actually give you the goals. The first is you must find a way to either get the mothership to you or you get to the mothership. And you must survive. Okay? Now, 12 and a half minutes. That's how long it takes, Carol. 12 and a half minutes. In about 12 and a half minutes, you will rank order or get pretty close to finishing rank ordering those 15 items. You understand? You'll hear people talking in different ways. Sometimes it takes longer for a group, but the average has been about 12 and a half minutes. And then I do something evil. I come to you and I say, Carol, would you and your team please come with me? Please stand up. And I'll walk you over to David's team. And David's seated and his team are seated at round tables typical of what we have here. And I'll say, turns out, Carol, Captain, turns out, Captain David, that your 2 spaceships have crash landed next to each other. You can assume double the water, double the oxygen, double the food. You must come up, however, with one solution. Somebody please tell me what happens. Pardon? Chaos. Introduce yourself. Bill?
Bill Verhall City, Wyoming.
You got it right on the money. Chaos. What kind of behaviors will I observe?
Differing opinions, and the people want to support their opinion and stick to it.
It becomes zero-sum very fast. It becomes us versus them. You understand? And the 2 teams will be, well, what do you have for number 5? Well, we've got this for number 5. How are you going to do it? In fact, it becomes so egregious that your team, David, will not even widen the circle. What will happen is Carol and her team will be standing behind your team. You understand? Let's demonstrate the meaning of that. Would you stand up, sir? We're at Victor's cocktail party. Okay? We're holding our glasses of beer. Just start talking to me, okay? Hey, David, good to see you.
Good to see you again. Yeah.
You notice this beer that Victor had kind of cheap, but I know they made Blatz anymore. But go ahead. Yeah. Start talking. Say how you doing.
I'm a Budweiser fan.
Yeah. Hey, good to see you, Karen. Thanks. Good. Hey, so how things been anyway, Dave?
Hey, fine. Could be better.
How you doing right now?
So.
Yeah. What am I doing to him? I'm disrespecting him. Anybody that, you'll see these social climbers sometimes at parties, like they're pretending they're talking to you, but they're talking to Victor or Gary. You see what I'm saying? The minute you start getting this, I'm dissing the heck out of you. Make no bones about it. Body language is 55% of the meaning of communication, people, two people in each other's presence. I'm dissing you. And so when Carol's group comes and they are not brought into the circle, it's the same kind of message. In fact, you'll get 2 different conversations going. There will be people in Carol's group who spin off, you understand? The people at the table will talk to each other, continued, but you won't have much dialogue, usually with the people behind you. Significance of that, sir?
You never come to consensus.
Huh?
No consensus.
Yeah. Let me give you the reason why. Thanks, David. Give David a hand. I thought he did good. Here's why. We know how people in groups make decisions. It's not a secret. It looks like this. There are 4 steps in group team decision making. Here's the first. The first is, I hope that shows up there, is that we tend as a group to identify the goal or goals and the problem. When we're looking at the spaceship, it sounds like cause-effect. It usually is a cause-effect discussion. In other words, you'll hear somebody say, how heavy are we? How cold is it? If we're real light, can we bounce 200 miles? I had one group say, let's take the life raft and take the 2 oxygen bottles and strap them on the back. Get in the life raft and just let the oxygen bottles go. I think those people are now working for NASA, to tell you the truth. No, okay. Now, all right. It sounds like cause-effect. And then the second thing we do in that discussion is we identify the options. That sounds like if-then discussions. If we're real light, then maybe we can try that. But here's the kick. And it's particularly true when you're dealing with significant change. This is not a linear process. It's an oscillation. So indeed, Dave says one thing, Carol jumps, onto it and says, how about this? And then somebody adds to Carol's, and it's like this until we get to the third stage, what you and I typically call a decision, and that is who does what, when, where, and how. Did that make it up there? You want another word for what's happening in steps 1 and 2, moving on to 3? It's called ownership. Ownership. And the thing is that when I bring Carol's team over to David's, David and his team in about 12 and a half minutes have ownership, even though I've randomly selected them. They have ownership of their answers and their strategy. And Carol and her team have ownership. And this is over a stupid little exercise, as opposed to something so significant as my job, my career, how we're going to do things, what services we're going to provide. Moving from 4 to 2, from unconscious competence to conscious incompetence. And if you want to talk about change, the last words Doug said are collaboration, but do them smartly. You got to bring everybody to the table. I'm sorry. How many times have I worked with teams, well-intended management teams, and the management team gets together and they talk about stuff and they go through 1 and 2 and they're well-intended and caring. And then the managers come down from the mountain carrying the tablets of stone. And how do the members in the union or in staff, I don't care if you're unionized or not, how do they react? The very same way. Because when you are not involved in steps 1 and 2 in a decision, then your start point, your critical point is 3. How did you come to that? Why'd you do it that way? And for most of you that have been in decision-making circles, you know that a lot of decisions are shades of gray. They're not clear either-ors. There's all kinds of shadings. And if you're not part of the shading, if you're not part of the identifying the goal and the cause and effect and the options and the if-then, then you will not accept the who does what, when, where, and how. Unless there has been huge trust built up for a long time. But when you have divided groups, that's not usually the situation, is it? We have a lot of people vested in old cheese. And it's not going to be easy, though it is not impossible. But I'll tell you one thing, the last points that Doug hit and that George hit are right, in my opinion, right on the numbers. It's going to take collaboration. We don't have a dictatorship. It's going to take serious collaboration, and collaboration that's done smartly. Whenever I've been asked to facilitate conflicts between two groups, for example, I refuse ever to do that facilitation in one or the other group's home base. Why? Turf. Explain, Professor.
People get their defenses, their court. They're in their own court. Yeah. They're comfortable there, and they can be more offensive there.
Yeah. You ever had this where you've gone into somebody else's meeting room and you come in, you know, me, I'm coming along, I'm fat, dumb, and happy. I come in and I sit down. And somebody goes, whoa, you're sitting in Miss Big's chair. Ooh, excuse my butt. Get out of there. That's how powerful, it's called proxemics, we don't have time to go through it, but that's how powerful this visceral and this thing is, to the point when I teach a class, am I correct on this, Gary? How many times the first night or day that you teach a class, they come back the next night or day, where do they sit?
Usually it's at least a similar area.
Yeah, yeah. And you can remember, I can remember names very much just by their proxemics, where they're sitting. It's that powerful. So what I'm suggesting is understand this way that we arrive at ownership and make decisions. And then secondly, when you're starting bringing groups together, always start on neutral turf. And don't make it so, I know I'm going to wrap up here, Don. By the way, fourth one is to monitor, evaluate. I can't demonstrate that in the class. And then go back and reassess. But if you're going to bring people together, all right, here he is. What's that? Don't do it. It's called collective bargaining. You understand? You want to put us versus them, then put people in a situation where they don't have a chance to talk. How many times have I worked with townships and councils, for example, in which they say, we don't understand each other, we don't get along. And I say, okay, how often do you meet and where do you meet? Well, we meet like this. This is the dais. And this is the public. And this council member never gets to talk to this council member, and this council member hates that council member, and yada, yada. Body language. You want people to learn from each other and talk? One start point, understand what we had up there before, but then get rid of the tables to the degree possible, or use round tables, and get yourself a visual medium, because most of us are visual, and sit like that. You don't have to sing Kumbaya, but sit so you're looking at each other without blockades. And then start with the questions. Start going through identifying the goal, the problem, the cause, the effect, etc. You'll have not everybody agree, but you'll create a stronger consensus than if you don't understand that ownership is, I have to have my fingerprints on it. You have to have your fingerprints on it. That's what it's about. That's the most effective way, it's not perfect, of bringing about change. Thoughts, comments? I hope you found the time useful. Question back here? You moved your hand. Not my fault.
Oh, this is great stuff.
Okay.
I appreciate you working at thing. My only question was, as I was thinking, how would we put BP today in this mix? And it's fascinating as you do an exercise like this, because we have our minds tend to progress. And I just think it's fascinating because I'm sitting, listening, watching CEOs talk, wondering the body chemistry, the language, and everything. And wouldn't it be interesting if you could have gotten some of that quote-unquote leadership to listen to what we just went through today?
Yeah, I don't want to get political, but I'm going to tell you, from a pure academic side, looking at it, and I don't care whether you're a Democrat, Republican, conservative, or liberal, I'm not seeing good problem solving. Good problem solving is the stuff we're talking about here. What we start talking about. It's why we have to have it. We got to be in the same room, if not at least on the same phone together, talking about steps 1 and 2, and understanding where our strengths and our weaknesses are, which exist on all sides. And that's very problematic for me. And the disaster continues. So, but it's the same kind of thing when we get to more incremental disasters like what's happening to much of Michigan. So it's been my pleasure. I hope you found the time useful, and I wish you the best for jobs that will continue to be challenging, but you'll be up to it. Good being with you. Thank you.